I'm doing pretty great, Wowie. It's really, really good to be here with you. And yeah, thank you for having me. And I did know that you wanted to have me on, and trust me, the feeling was mutual. I am looking forward to getting into these patch notes tonight, and ever onward, going through them again and again and again. Yeah, no, I know it will be. Mhm. Yeah. Well, the reason is simple. You missed it because you listened to Bolon, who said there was not going to be anything happening, so didn't even check the Discord like me. That's exactly why I missed it. Ah, very painful, but I felt that pain acutely from missing that as well because like you said, it was just what we wanted information giver wise, the people they're talking, and they didn't have Big Brother Bull on there censoring any potential good stuff. Yeah, I know, and I hope that becomes a meme. Big Brother Bull on. Oh yeah, I will do the same. Uh-oh. Same, I'm dropping it into Mythic Squad. Yeah, because we I feel like it should be pinned in the freaking game updates channel. Right. No, that's it. That's a really good way of putting it. And then simply, it is just kind of cool down. Your person forgets how to do something for a little bit, and then they can do it again when the amnesia's over. Oh, they can only hear you? For me? Well, that's a huge disappointment for all of the viewers. They missed your whole intro and then just my introduction. Wow, that was have been so bad. I am sorry, team. I'm sorry for anyone listening that you could only hear me.
All right, I should be
But
I should be audible now. Hello and welcome everybody who missed the intro completely. That was mostly
wow.
my bad for not checking which of the audio devices was plugged into my OBS because for some reason whenever I get a Windows update, it likes to default to something I've never seen before on the sound card. Um,
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I've had that issue. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Worm, very much for pointing that out. I would have gone
Yeah.
literally the entire stream without noticing that at all. All right, let's see. I'll start over. We're gonna. I'm just gonna start over real quick. Here's the intro you guys missed out on. Welcome, one and all, to the first rendition of For the Nerds, where we go over the latest patch notes that DFK releases, like what we're about to right now, and I am going to get into the nitty gritty on what literally everything means. To recap real quick, I was explaining and answering WhatsApp's 98's question, which was where can I find the amnesia and stack limit terms. And I'm just going to tell you guys right now, it's a lot easier than you think. Amnesia can just be equated to cooldown. It's how many turns it takes for you to be able to use that ability again. So most of them won't be spammable, right? And stack limit just means for the sake of, say, poison, right? Something that we know, like you can put it on once and it stacks up and it does more and more damage every single time it has a stack applied, right? Stack limit refers to how high that stack can go, right? So if a poison tick does 2% of your max HP, right? They're not going to let it stack to 50 so it does 100% of your damage in one go. No, they're not going to do that. They're most likely going to stack that to like 5. And just from my experience, that seems like the most fair.
Right. No, I was thinking the same, like 10%. Yeah, I would imagine it's that or around that for tweaking.
Yeah, for real. Rubetto, thank you for the resub of Prime, my dog. Scrupulation chat is back.
Yeah,
and I'm so happy too.
Right.
So something really interesting happened here with these patch notes. I took the liberty of watching the Thursday stream a couple of times at 0.25 speed and literally
Whoa,
compiled.
1/4 speed.
Yeah, 1/4 speed. I took about a total of 7 hours, and I compiled every single piece of new information I could possibly find there within. And let me tell you, it is a ton. I'll go ahead and I released this to I released this as early access to my ticket holders and key holders on Friendtech and Stars Arena, which is a great place, by the way. I friggin' love it. But I'm going to throw it out. Bam. For everyone who's viewing on Twitch right now, go ahead and get in so you can follow along. Sheet 1 is my compiled notes, and Sheet 2 is the actual patch notes. We'll see how close I got. But yeah, speaking of Friendtech and Stars Arena, Sticks Intern, I know you've been dying to talk about this, and it took forever for me to like understand the gravity of what you were pleading everyone to get started in.
Oh, well, it's just like it feels like a new kind of energy has been really given to the like this whole kind of space that we all occupy in a broad sense in the crypto space from these social fi apps like Friendtech and Stars Arena. And one big thing that's going on right now, and the reason a lot of people are talking about both of them, is that people are anticipating an airdrop. Now, if you're just going out there and spending money, losing it, hoping that you'll make it back in an airdrop, I don't think that's a good idea. But if you want to go play with these apps and see what the hype is about, I think there's a lot going on. I think that they're really fun to use, honestly, and everything's cheaper on Stars Arena because it's all priced in AVAX instead of Ethereum. And so if you want to test it out, I think that's a really good kind of place to go check it out and see what the hype is about and see if it's for you because social media apps aren't for everyone, and I get that. But there's no harm in like testing it out and seeing if it is something you like because there's a lot that can be done here. I think one thing I've talked to Wowie a bunch is that like, look, man, you could give people like key or ticket gated access to your analysis on their strategies even or their comps, their team composition, their heroes, all of these different things in the game that if our hopes and dreams come true and this game takes off one day, people are going to be desiring that kind of information, and maybe not even just from WoWe, maybe from the new players that come between now and then. So it's going to be I think it's a good place to be, and getting in on these things early is leagues at it has orders of magnitude is the word I'm looking for of a difference in your experience, right? Because if you think about the kind of just crypto markets generally, I bet it's going to follow a pattern very similar to Bitcoin and Ethereum, where there's like kind of a big rush of interest and then a top, and then a bunch of people buy it and kind of get started at the top, and then when the interest dies down, maybe when an airdrop does go out, for example, is one thing people are speculating could take away interest. Um, then some people do end up getting hurt. So I do, as with everything in crypto, use caution, use your best judgment. Feel free to reach out to me directly for any questions. But yeah, that's enough. I think that's enough shilling of products that aren't DFK.
Well, we can get one last one in there. Buy Sticks in Turn and Wowie tickets to the gun show for early access and great memes, because honestly, I think I've been making more meme content on Stars Arena than I have on Twitter.
Well, you gave me a really good meme earlier. I turned that right around.
All right, sweet. I can't wait to see it. See, value already. All right, so with no further ado, let's get started with these patch notes, because the very first patch note is probably the most important. But oh, yo, what's up, Dags? Glad you can make it, man. So all of these patch notes are, number one, I'm going to say probably most likely subject to change. They are not live yet, and they're not going to be live tomorrow. This is a patch notes preview of what's to come when the Boar Void Hunt is released, right? It says it right up here in the very top.
Yep.
All right. So, yeah, import. These changes will not... yeah, you get it.
Big bold letters. Important.
Yeah, very big, important, bold letters. Please do not expect this tomorrow. Please hold back your wins, because the answer is Boar Hunt. And that's it.
Student TM is the answer always.
Indeed, my favorite trademark. So I want to, like, we're gonna get things started off with, like, to me, which was the most spicy of anything that was just casually dropped in the leak stream, which I want to call it like something scandalous, like Leakgate 2023 on the demo. But this is one of the biggest deals I've seen. Yeah, Borsgate. The decrease in the default critical heal and critical hit multiplier from 2x to 1.5x. This is a really big deal. This is a humongous deal, because I don't think I got to really tell you guys how to math out like how much doubling something is, and then how much like adding a half of something is. But
I feel like crypto investors should be very well versed in that idea and the inverse.
Quick crypto math right here.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this, that I did hear, and this is in my general knowledge updates and takeaways, where I bolded this critical strike update. Even though it's been reduced to 1.5 times damage instead of 2, this gives the devs room to make us skills and equipment that further bolster our critical hit damage bonus, which is gigantic. And I mean, you see it all over the place in a lot of different kinds of RPG games. I would like to see this expressed as a percentage rather than like a multiplier, because I feel like that's like an easier to feel and understand number.
Right, so like 150% versus 200% is what you're thinking? Yeah, I agree. I think, it is better, and it's in line with a lot of the other things that are going to be showing in the game based on the codices we've seen. Right? They all have these percents that are going to be derived from some formula, and so I think displaying as a percent wherever it's displayed makes sense. I get you on that.
Right, and this also does go into action economy now, because like if you get a lucky crit, it's not worth 2 turns; it's worth an additional half a turn. So this balances out action economy very well, especially because, all right, what do I build? Do I build flat damage bonus? Do I build scaling damage bonus? Or do I build crit damage, right? So, like, There's going to be a bunch of different ways to build these things out. And honestly, I'm really excited they put this up first, because it is pretty much the most important one, I feel, in my personal opinion.
I agree. And if you think back to, just when the combat testing grounds was first released, the archers and that I forget which ability it was now, maybe multi-shot, where it was just a bunch of damage. But if you critted, holy cow, you were just gonna you that's how you won the fastest time challenge that Cujo did, right? Is you had to keep spamming it until you got a bunch of crits really luckily. And this I think is kind of a way to address that. And it also like building on your action economy comment, I think the reducing the crit damage from like an extra turn to an extra half turn, as you said, is something that's going to make consistency comps relatively more appealing than building necessarily for critical with every composition out there, just because the upside is so great.
Yeah, 100%. So I don't know. I would say like there's not really a grain of salt to take here. This is just like a everyone be prepared for crits to like they're still good, but they're not gonna just like be everything. You know what I mean? Because from what I saw in that demo, you're really going to want to strategize utility over pure damage. And I don't think we're
Right.
going to be doing the. I don't think we're going to be able to do the fish for 3 or 4 crits in a row and take down the Mad Boar Hunt.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And another thing to appreciate here is they have the boars doing a lot of the more kind of advanced mechanics that came out later in the codices. So we got like taunt and we got push and pull mechanics coming out from the boar's charm. And it seems like they're really adding a lot of mechanics. So I agree with you what you said on that utility. If you're going to counter utility, you're going to need some utility yourself. Is my opinion. And
100%.
yeah, with the crit, with the old crit, maybe it was just damage was the only good utility.
Yeah, this puts way more emphasis on thinking about what you're doing. but um but yeah, so that's just probably the most important thing to throw out there for everybody to be in the know, aware of. Critical strike damage has been decreased by 25% across the board. So, watch out.
So, so the question, I guess, is will gear allow us to increase that multiplier?
Oh yeah, big time. I heard Hubert literally say in the demo that this allows us to make rework skills and create equipment that can bolster that critical hit and damage multiplier,
Yeah,
which I
I
was
could
super
see a
happy
lot of
about.
places where that would be cool.
Yeah. So, moving on to our next one. This is a pretty interesting one. We saw this with the speed formula already, and I'll go ahead and read it off a little bit. So critical strike chance, block, evasion, status effect resistance, damage reduction, and recovery formulas were reworked to be a bit less linear and more dynamic. This means that average level is being taken into consideration for both teams across the battlefield. So rather than the average level on your team versus the average level of your opponent's team, it is the average level of every single participant in this battle right now. Obviously, if your opponent has a bunch of level 20s and you've got a bunch of level 5s, that's not going to be great. But the disparity between the two isn't going to be as like life altering insane stat wise between the two, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does.
Yeah,
Um,
it levels the playing field just a little bit.
but I mean, I also feel like it also rewards those higher levels because if you look at this sentence here, second sentence in the italics, it's like it says that it changes the experience to be one where the high stats will have a noticeable advantages
Mm-hmm.
over low stats. So I think it's not that it levels the playing field. I think it's that it rewards leveling.
The higher end.
Yeah. I think maybe before the issue was that with it being too linear, it's like you could have a maybe a 3 level difference, and it's not that huge of a deal because the stat percentages weren't a big part of the formula. But now, um, using this new dynamic average leveling method, they've found a way to make it less linear, so that high stats will have noticeable advantages.
Yeah, so I mean, the best example I could put here is like a full team, two teams of level 10s, right? Everyone is exactly what their stats say they are. And then as soon as you are going further and further away from the level 10, like say you're full 9s versus full 11s, the disparity is shifted towards the higher level, obviously, because they've got more stats weighted on their side versus the average. But the like it's not as detrimental to the lower levels, right? It's not as domineering for the higher level. It's still going to be like higher and lower, obviously, but like you're not going to really get just demolished because you have, say, high levels or high stats on your low level and low stats on your high level. It's going to feel a lot closer.
Right. And I think where this really is going to matter is at like the small differences, right? So I think if you have the example of level 20s versus level 5s, right? I don't think any formula is going to really help those level 5s too much if it weighs stats at all.
Right.
But the difference might be for level 19 and 17. Maybe with this average level system, that won't feel as bad as it would be under a different system because because of just a 2 level difference in average level between your hero teams.
Yeah, no, you got it exactly right. So I'm honestly pretty excited about that. It's going to make ease of access for a more varied set of teams. Like, oh my gosh, I've got all my guys at level 15, but I got this new one that's like literally perfect in traits that I want to, and it just has this cranked out dexterity stat that I really want to use on my team, but it's level 8.
Right.
So yeah, I need to work on
Yeah.
leveling, but I won't be using them right now, especially because like this is the fastest way to level them up. The hit to your average level is, I mean, yeah, it's going to be a little bit detrimental, but it's not going to be as detrimental as it seems it's going to be. It's going to be a little bit more equalized, thanks to being dynamic.
Yeah, and I think really the biggest takeaway here is that they've taken this idea from the speed formula and applied it to just like all throughout the game. So they had to go back and rework a bunch of different formulas to make the game more complex, dynamic, and engaging, um, and better just all around. So it's just interesting to note how many different things have their formulas reworked, and just already the efforts towards balancing and making this a dynamic, fun game are being shown through changes even like this. They're more technical and formulas.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of thought's going to be put into these kinds of things, because you just don't want people to be running away with everything just because they've got stats and levels stacked on their side. Now we've got a really long message from Hubert, but this is going to have a lot of clarification with it. See, I'm not reading it yet because I want to throw out this disclaimer of I'm probably intentionally wrong just to get clarification. And here we go. It works pretty much the same way as the speed formula. Here's a good example of how it worked before versus now. Say level 10 Thief has crazy luck and a level 10 Scholar has garbage luck. In the old system, the thief might have had 1.5% base crit chance, while the Scholar might have a 0.8% base crit chance. Now, with the dynamic formulas, the Thief might have a 10% crit chance, while the Scholar has a 1% crit chance. That's really interesting. So yeah, it's exactly what you were saying. Like, it really benefits the like stat to level ratio. I really like that. It makes more sense too, because like I want to be
right. No,
rewarded.
I think that's great.
I want to feel rewarded for like specifically my thoughts are level luck all the time, right? And then it's just like, well, I might have 40 luck on my level 10 thief, but I don't have that much more of a chance to crit than everybody else does, even though I've specialized in it.
Yeah.
So this makes it make a lot more sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. No, I'm really excited about it. Thank you for the clarity bomb from Hubert. That is good. Okay,
100%.
and I get, but it does still have that effect, like you were saying. Like it does balance it out a little bit, right? Because it might raise that scholar from a 0.8 base to a 1%. So
Yeah.
yeah, I see how all of it shaped out in that example there. That concreteness really helped a lot.
Yeah, everyone's gonna feel more powerful, and which I think is the whole purpose. Because I heard this saying a very long time ago, and I think it was from one of the head Overwatch devs, like way back, like 6 or 7 years ago, and he was like, "We want everyone to feel as if they are overpowered, because if everyone feels like they're overpowered, there ain't nothing to complain about, and you're having a good time."
Hmm. I love that. Yeah, I mean, it is true. It's power creep right there.
Yeah. So we're gonna move on. Damage over time skills can now stack. This is pretty self-explanatory, and pretty badass. So things like bleeds, burns, poisons, these things are going to stack over time. We've had stacking already kind of talked about with poison stacking damage over time. We've had like literally the burn mechanic is stack it up enough times and it deals additional damage and I think stuns for the wizard. And then we've
Shout out
got
to Kel'Thas.
yeah, big shout out to Kel'Thas. Man, I miss Hots. But I think this is referring to bleed, right? So they're saying the damage over time skills felt a bit lackluster and not a viable strategy, and they're hoping that this could bring a little bit more oomph to damage over time effects or dots, which I'm a huge fan of. So I think this is alluding to bleed stacks, where instead of, like, say you get afflicted with a bleed and you take 12 damage, and that 12 damage is spread out over 3 turns, right? So you're taking 4 damage over 3 turns that equals 12, right? Well, on turn 2, I get another bleed. I get that same bleed applied to me, right? And now it's refreshed. Still lasts 3 turns because it just got refreshed, and that 4 doubled to 8. So now over time, I'm taking 24 damage plus the 4 I took the turn before. So the full bleed
So
damage is 28 from
yeah,
12.
yeah. So the only thing I would maybe quibble with you on is the assumption that it would refresh the original stack.
Right.
Because that is how these mechanics can get overpowered if you have like an infinite refresh of the entire duration and like allowing you to grow the stack count as well. So I mean, the way I would have imagined it working would have been like in your scenario, you apply the bleed on turn one, so on the next turn they take 4 damage, and you apply another bleed, so they have 2 turns of the first one left, and now 3 turns of the next one. So you could really get like a maximum, if just in this scenario with a one that falls off after 3 turns, like a 2 stacks with a third one that falls off the following turn, right? So each time it would kind of hit 2 or maybe 3 times. I don't know. I'm not writing on a pen and paper here, but you kind of get the picture I'm drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I do. I think. I mean, if it does refresh the total amount, though, I mean, I wouldn't hate it. I love playing those kinds of mechanics because they're stupid busted in like a sneaky way where people just they look at it and the numbers are small, so they don't really plan for it or consider it, and then it's just something that wrecks them once they have to deal with it in the game.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, my assumption is that it does like refresh, right? Because it's made to stack up to deal like more damage in one instance later on, because it would be like equalizing out. Instead of doing 10 damage a turn, I'm dealing 2 damage and then ramping up to 20, and that catches up, right? And that
Right.
like forces me to stay committed to my bleed strategy, because if the bleed effects fall off, or say I miss twice in a row and I don't reapply
Oh.
the bleed and it falls off, well, I have to start over. I got to ramp it back up.
Yeah. Okay. I hear you. Yeah, no, I like that reasoning. Well, I'm intrigued to see how they do it. I feel like, either way could work. It's just a matter of the numbers
Right.
at the end of the day, right? And in your scenario, it would be really punishing to let it fall off. So that is also really fun too to
Yeah,
think
and
about.
I
And
mean
maybe like the timing is done. or something to
And
like
it,
interrupt the person so they can't reapply it.
and it puts a lot of value on like, okay, when do I want to purify, like, do I purify all stacks, or do I like maybe cleanse a stack when it's about to fall off, you know what I mean? So like there's a lot of counterplay to that play style as well in terms of timing on like the recipient's end as well.
Oh yeah, I know. I like that idea you brought up because it does make the cleanse purify distinction a bit more fun. So I really like that idea actually. That's a good point about the counterplay and the stacks falling off. Always bring a purify.
Right. I like Dag's idea of stun dot comp.
Yeah, I like it because it's toxic,
Yep,
literally, and
it's literally
amazing.
toxic.
Yeah,
You don't get
just
to
stun dot
play.
their tank. Yeah, before you can put up any defensive abilities, stun dot stun stun stun.
All right, sweet. So that's the first page. I can't remember how many pages. Okay, so there's only like 2 pages of like additional stuff before we go into the class changes, which I will go into very briefly at. Well, I guess there's the bug changes as well, or the bug fixes. I'll go into the class changes pretty briefly to go over everything, and like before I do that, I'll switch back over to the video notes because I grabbed a couple more things than they wanted to release in their patch notes, and I'm pretty excited to share that. um,
Yeah.
so we've got added complementary potions. Now this is a temporary thing, and it is specifically for void hunts, and I guess probably the entirety of the combat testing grounds. But everyone is getting getting in battle 3 HP and 3 MP pots. And I believe they're limiting the uses total to 3 uses of either, right? So that means you can use 3 HP pots, or you can use 1 HP pot and 2 MP pots, or vice versa. But you can't use more than a combined total of 3, right? And I would say the most important thing in the italicized message here is we are working on allowing players to use their own potions in the future. Not financial advice, but that sounds deflationary to me.
Oh yeah, I think this is going to be a real kind of eye-opening experience for a lot of us. They're talking about how hard these void hunts are. I'm betting using these potions, we're going to become reliant on these free ones. And if you, I don't know, I'm going to plan ahead, I think, and try to pick them up after I play around with it and see if I really do think they're necessary. But I anticipate that that will be my conclusion. And yeah, I agree with you that I plan to make sure my war chest is well built.
Oh
I
yeah.
do actually want to highlight another thing though that was in here because I didn't see it coming. That either way it will use up their turn. So
Yes, item
I think
usage.
before we were under the impression that item usage might not use up a turn.
Mm-hmm.
So if so, that's a pretty big deal. I am like not in any direction, just as far as thinking about how to play the game. That changes the action economy and decision making tree quite a bit. If like say I'm giving up like a stun on my knight or something like that to instead heal my archer who really needs it. Otherwise, they're gonna die.
Right.
Right. I think that's gonna be fun decision kind of optionality in the game to deal with the problems you encounter.
Yeah, my personal opinion, I think that item usage should take an entire action because that frees that frees the devs up to make items more impactful. Because okay, we got to make it worth, an ability cast. We have to make it worth a basic attack. We have to make it worth a potential stun, right? It's
Right.
so items have to become more impactful in order to fill that action economy gap where it was okay, you down a pot and basic attack in the same turn. It's like that seems like a lot of value.
Right. Yeah, or just like really long games, right, where everyone's using their full items every time, and it would become like attrition kind of battles in most of them. But
Right.
so I think I agree with you. I just wanted to flag that because
No, yeah, it
that
was
was
really
a
good.
good catch. I don't know, not good catch, but that intrigued me, tickled my mind.
Yeah, something a bit new.
Yeah.
Dag says, yeah, it's like Final Fantasy where item use takes a turn instead of like D&D where there's always ways to make it a free action. Speaking of Baldur's Gate, a little pro tip, if you place a health potion on the ground during your turn and that ground happens to be on fire, that health potion automatically breaks and heals you and it takes up no action at all. So, anyone
Wow.
trying to max either way through Baldur's Gate, do that.
That's alpha right there. This is why we come to WoWE. That's sneaky tactics.
It is sneaky. It's very sneaky, but also, as Bolon would say, don't ape into broken mechanics unless you're prepared for the consequences and prepared to break them again. Um,
Nice.
so adding on to the next thing, we've got added the reposition action. This is huge. We're finally going to be able to do it. Something I really want to point out here. Before I do that, I'll go ahead and explain what reposition is. Reposition, you use up your turn. It's an action, right? So it takes your turn, and you are able to change places with an adjacent hero. Before we were talking about, is it going to be able to go from, P1 to P3? That does not seem to be the case anymore. It is literally whatever hero is next to you, you can change places with them. And from the demo, it's going to be very important if you're not stacking push and pull resistance. Now, the thing that I really want to point out here, and I think is very interesting to start discussing, is repositioning is a fast action and grants 250 initiative back when executed. Initiative is going to be one of the most crucial components to gameplay. And what this means is initiative is what the speed bar is indicating, right? So when we're looking on the upper left side, we see the turn order, right? We can't really see exactly how much initiative is right now because we're just looking at who's coming up next. But if you can imagine a linear line from 0 to 1,000, right? And that's the actual turn order that you move along, where every second it fills up with initiative based on your speed, right? Based on the speed formula, based on your agility and all the other stuff that plays into it. But 250 initiative is basically 25% of the turn gauge gets just injected into you because you decided to reposition. So you get to take your turn sooner.
Yeah. And so I really like that. I think kind of thinking about it in universe, it would be like instead of doing an attack, I turned and I ran behind my shield brother, but that didn't take me as long as doing an attack and getting back into my default stance would have taken. So that's why it makes sense to get a little bit of extra time back because you are just repositioning. You're not being aggressive. You're not being necessarily defensive. It's a very neutral action, and so I like that they have that kind of it's kind of a catch-up mechanic to put that in there because most of the time you're going to be repositioning because of someone else moving you around unless you're doing some very advanced composition strategy where you don't need WowE or my thoughts or any of the other streamers thoughts because you have the skills, which is going to happen. But I think most of the time it's going to be something you do in response to something that's been done to you. So this is a way to kind of get you back in the game after doing a positive, a good thing to get out of danger when you were in danger as a result of an enemy tactic.
Right. Whereas repositioning was really only a strategic move before, in terms of how much value do I get out of it, right? My let's just say for instance, like my priest got pulled to the front for some reason, and now I've got to use a reposition action on either my knight or my priest in order to make sure they're not in danger anymore. Typically a reposition, from my understanding, was a net loss. So not only are so the idea is I pull the priest and now I'm expecting them to waste a turn to switch it back, right? With this, you're
Right.
getting some sort of tangible value back, right? And I would say, I would add on to this saying like high level gameplay is going to utilize specifically this very, 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 very hard, because there's going to be some instances where you're going up against somebody and you're like, if only they weren't going right before me. Like we have the same speed, but they're going right before me. If only they weren't doing that, I'd be able to start getting ahead, because they're able to bolster themselves before I could do anything. We're just canceling each other out, right? With this, you can turn the chase back around. You skip a turn and you're put forward in the turn order, and now you're always going before them.
Right. So yeah, you're sacrificing that one turn for an improved position on the speed meter, right? And I
Right.
think one thing to emphasize that you snuck in there really fast is that you're assuming that the speed is the same, and I think that's a fair assumption. But it's going to be really interesting at the high level with really fast characters being able to be kind of like you could use them as repositioning tools to get your other characters out of harm's way, and they could maybe even be attacking multiple times, because they're just so fast that it's really hardly a loss to you to give that one turn up.
Right. No, this is gonna be really interesting, and I think the 250 initiative injection is a very, very, very interesting take on a classic system here, especially because reposition's not usually in RPGs. I really enjoy this a lot.
Yeah, me too.
But
I think it
that's not the
fits.
only
I think
thing
it
added.
fits well mechanically. It fits well like thematically with what's
Yeah.
going on in combat. I like everything about it.
Yeah, no, this is seriously super sweet. You know what? I'm noticing that this is not in a good spot. There we go. It's a little bit better. Okay, so we've got addition of visible status indicators. Knowledge is power. Our players can now see combatants' afflicted status effects both on the status bar and as a rotating visual indicator. I think I've got something like that around here somewhere. Where yes, so this can technically be classified at. Oh, you guys can't see it because the chat's in the way. But we'll just say this. Let's just say this is a status. This is a buff on an enemy team. You are allowed to mouse over it and see exactly what the buff is and what the buff does. And before anyone yells at me about this being really hard to see and it's super blurry, I'd like you all to refer to cell 2B. If you're angry at the quality of the screenshots I took from that YouTube video, yell at Sashay to up his bit rate when he streams so I don't have to squint as hard to get all of the information out of it.
Protect Wowie's eyes, Sashay. We beg you.
Yeah, can't the devs do something? You're right, Dags. when? when higher bit rate.
Yeah.
So visible status indicators is fantastic. In my own personal opinion, I wish my wish list right now is kind of like how this one is right here. I'll make this a little bit bigger. So kind of like how this archer is right here with the little heart on her because she's getting charmed by the baby boar, of which we will be talking about because this is not in the patch notes. I did take the time to note take every single ability that the boars have to get ready for this.
Just an absolute legend. This was so good to read. Like this right here, what the boar's abilities are. This is the actual alpha of this whole stream. If you get nothing else, go into that spreadsheet and read what the boars do, because knowing your enemy is how you win.
Right, because knowledge is power. I believe that we're actually on that, right? And knowledge is power.
Right. Precisely.
Uh-oh. There we go. I don't know why this decided to be weird now. But so talking about status effects, so we're gonna see them kind of like how this is next to the HP bars, which is fine, and it's probably easier to read. But wishlist style, I would love it to appear above the above or on or like stacked up behind, or in some regard like a visible like status tile on the character, just I don't know why, but it just makes it feel like it's more real.
Yeah, yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I mean, just look about how easy even just those two little screenshots you've taken with the boar winking and the heart above it, you can tell what's going on just by looking at the characters. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at is having to refer to information outside of the characters might feel unintuitive or not as good even as something that is just shown directly on the character model.
Which
But that
again,
might also be harder because you get lots of clutter and there's
right?
lots of animation. So I'm not, yeah, I get where you're coming from,
Clutter,
but
yeah,
I
clutter's
don't
going
mean
to
to
be a
imply.
definite issue for sure.
Yeah,
But I mean, UI like discussions aside, this is a really good addition.
yeah. No,
uh,
I mean, yeah, I was super crazed reading the bore abilities. Not gonna lie.
yeah, it was pretty sweet. It was difficult to try and like sleuth it all out because like not to I got nothing against Sasha, but the man's mouse movements are so erratic. Like I said,
Yeah, yeah.
I had to watch it at 0.25 speed in order to catch everything I could.
Oh, yeah, that is so slow. I can't even imagine doing that.
I sat there, listened to every single slow motion tidbit.
Welcome.
Yeah. So we also got a UI overhaul. General overhaul should feel more cohesive and crisp. We have a lot more overhauling planned in the near future. I hope so. I really enjoyed it. But I mean, there's not much to talk about here. It's a UI overhaul. It's specifically made to go against like what we're talking about, where it's like, okay, we don't want as much clutter. We want people to see things. This also. Oh wait, I was about to talk about this. I guess we'll just move on to this icon rework. All heroes now have shiny new icons that make the skills more distinguishable during heat of battle, which are these guys, which are super hard to see because it's very blurry.
They are
So
much easier to see in the patch notes, I will admit.
yes,
Because you can click on them and get a bigger image just in the Discord.
true. Yeah, everybody go into the game updates in the Discord because that
Can we just take a
it's
quick
incredible.
tangent just to say that like the game updates channel existing in like a real form like this with patch notes coming out? Oh, this that alone gets me really excited.
Oh yeah, bullish.
I'm gonna be checking this channel so frequently.
Yeah, I've been freaking out about it ever since it was
Yeah.
first posted in 10 minutes before this stream. A lot of freaking out on
You're
my
just
end.
on top of it. Yeah. Oh, but I came in here and I looked at the announcements. I was like, I heard there was stuff here. What is it? Why is it not in the announcements? Then it was like, oh, there's a new channel. Oh, the game updates get their
Yep.
own channel.
I
Oh.
know. I saw
So
the notification. I was like, wait, that's not in the normal spot.
yeah.
Oh dang it,
No, it gets
Dags!
me.
Hell yeah, man! Thanks for the resub. I appreciate you, homie. I guess this is the time I take to announce a slight effort at a shill. If you guys have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to me for free. It really helps me out. I think they're normally $5 for a tier 1, and it just helps me keep moving forward with content creation, and it shows me that you guys really like what I'm doing, and it pushes me forward every single time. So, Dags, thank you so much. I really appreciate you, man, and I'm glad I hold one of your tickets in the arena. Um, so shill over, I guess. Commercial done.
Very nice.
So we got the battle log rework as well, right? So we're looking. So we're looking at the battle log. I wish I had the combat testing grounds up and ready to show you guys, but I'm sure you've all seen the battle log. It's the thing that you click on in the top right, and it just has a breakdown of literally everything that happens every single turn. And this just got a lot easier to read and follow.
Yeah. I feel like they mentioned this on an AMA a couple weeks ago that they'd done some updates to the battle log. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. I mean, nothing too sexy to talk about, but good functionality. Glad it's being done.
Yeah, I'll never not like more functionality.
Yeah. Or more detail or
Yeah.
clearer information. I like all of those things.
Yeah, big time. All right, so we got general game performance improvements. I did notice that in the demo, there was a lot less clunkiness. There was way more fluidity in what you were doing. Things were snappier and happening in a more, I don't know, dynamic way, where instead of like, you know how like Pong is just like, here comes the dot, move your thing, dot hits your thing and it goes away. You know, instead of that like 1-2 1-2 action sequence, it was much more like rubber bandy and it felt more alive.
Yeah, yeah. I like you say rubber bandy. It's like makes me think of the what are they called? The physics and game engines where the things just kind of fly out. Ragdoll physics. So, but
Yeah.
it's really responsive, something really tactile that you can see with your eyes, and it feels like the game is reacting to your decisions more smoothly. It's kind
Oh
of
my
what
god.
I'm getting from your comments there.
I love that idea. All right, Hubert, official WoWie request. When ragdoll death animations. That's what I want. I want to throw a multi-shot at something and just have it like ragdoll around. Like that'd be so great.
No, that would be pretty funny. Just watching it hit
Just
all the
like
corners of your screen.
obliterates it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got equipment.
I mean, if you've ever, yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go on.
I want to hear.
No. I was just gonna shill the angry goat game as the best ragdoll physics
Dude,
ever.
that game is so good.
It's so funny. I laughed for hours the first time I played it.
Yeah, I was sucked in. I couldn't believe like how much entertainment $15 could really get me.
Right? Same.
So equipment, swords, shields, bows, amulets, and more, which I think if anyone saw the Cypherpunk 2023 on stage Dreamer talks, you got to see some weapons catalogs and a vendor coming soon. Heroes will be able to utilize equipment to fend off their enemies. This is really interesting. I can't wait to see this. I feel like this might be dropping. Oh, this is going to be dropping because it's dropping with the boar hunt, as we said. Important note. So a vendor is going to be appearing in Crystal Vale and probably Sarandale. That is going to allow you to purchase all of the starting equipment. So any of the starting equipment you see on any of the classes, you know, like the Berserker's axe or the Warrior's mace or the Archer's bow, just for examples, like you'll be able to purchase any of that. And I'm not sure if there's going to be weapon exclusivity for classes just yet, but I think it would be pretty interesting to see the interactions between, okay, I'm going to put a spear on my warrior and, you know, be able to hit P2 with basic attacks, or, you know, I'm going to put a bow on my priest and have it be able to do basic attacks so I get damage for free rather than trying to, you know, spend a bunch of MP on it. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually really excited to see and try out the different combinations.
Yeah.
Dag says
Me too. No, I mean,
I think they're going to be 4 gold.
Go ahead, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Stig. Dag says, do we start with a basic set or do we not get weapons unless we buy the initial ones? I think when we mint our heroes, they are minted with a basic set of equipment, to my understanding. But I don't actually know.
So, you know, in effect, that would mean like we would have to get some sort of claim for our existing heroes, and then going forward, the new ones would probably be born with them. If you're right, yeah, I assume that makes the most sense to me what you described, because I don't think Guy is going to send our heroes through the portal naked. This is a PG game, guys. Yeah. No, so you interrupted me also. I was just going to highlight Dag's comment. So I had nothing additional to add.
Hell yeah. It just means we're in tandem. Our brains are the same.
Really? It's an issue. A problem.
All right, so we got some armor changes coming up here, and this is the last of the like change patch notes before we look at the bug fixes. Sometimes heroes in light armor could take a fair beating before going down and outshining the knights in shiny armor. This was due to the previous implementation that had a percentage reduction component and a damage subtraction component. The percentage reduction component was overpowered due to the linear nature of the formula, of course. As mentioned above, we eliminated the damage subtraction component to defense entirely and made damage reduction calculations dynamic by level. Ooh, that is big. So tanks feel more like the frontline heroes they are supposed to be, and non-tanks are more susceptible to damage. That's huge.
That is huge. I'm curious what was going on in testing to make them notice this, because it just feels like maybe the wizards were up there getting hit by the boars at first and not taking any damage, even though they got pulled from the back or whatever, or the priests, I should say, the lightest armor. And it's exciting. I'm just really excited about all of the formula changes that they've done. I appreciate that that's a ton of work, and it required undoing a lot of previous work, which is always painful to do. But when I find that whenever I do it, I'm typically more proud of the result. So I get it, and these armor changes sound like exactly a big benefit of going with this more dynamic system. I wouldn't like it if my knight felt as squishy as my priest. I wouldn't like that.
Yeah, it makes sense thematically. We do have an answer from Hubert.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good. All right, so we won't actually have an equipment shop available with the Void Hunt launch, and the base equipment is something your heroes already have. An equipment shop, when it exists, would have lowish quality gear that can be used as the characters progress in levels. The intent being that craftable equipment would be better. I love it. I love that idea. I love the clarification. It makes everything make more sense, and I can't wait till we take the next steps. I don't know what else to say here, because that's just great.
Is there any more like clearly bad takes we could give that might bait another paragraph? Because I'm interested. I'm open to that idea.
Let's see. I'll try the same thing I did on Bolon during his very unfortunate what was the terminology used? Compromised. His compromised Discord.
Oh yeah.
If this is the real Hubert Cumberdale, tell us some alpha that only Hubert would know and we wouldn't. I'm just gonna lay that line out.
That's a great way to verify identity, by the way, because the person on the other end absolutely couldn't just make up whatever they wanted. You're asking them to tell you info you don't know.
Exactly. It's foolproof.
Foolproof identification, verification, all the way through. I need an answer ASAP in the chat from Hubert. But yeah, I love it. I love your tactics, Wowie. They're always a layer or two ahead of the average bear.
Just wait till you see him on the battlefield, man, because it's about to get stanky, let me tell you.
Ooh, stanky. How stanky are we talking here?
Well, I'll tell you, because the general knowledge updates and takeaways are going to probably open up a bit of your mind to the possibilities here. Hubert says, but what if the alpha wasn't actually true? I would know, probably. And that's the only defense I have against that statement. Let's see. Arok says, I will melt down all of my duel trophies to craft the first field plate armor in the game. I like that idea. I really enjoy the idea of like duels medals being able to be crafted into like unique equipment.
Well, let's think about the duels participation trophies, and you combine them with the party hats for the ultimate, sort of plastic armor in existence.
I like that a lot. And then it's just party hats, duels league. That's it. That's what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Just cardboard armor.
I love it.
Okay.
Cardboard army.
So real quick, just to go over the quick UI takeaways. A couple of these are going to be a bit redundant because we've already talked about them. Again, the patch notes we just went over came out like not even an hour ago. and these are the things that I got from last Thursday's stream. So real quick, we already know this one. Items are now going to be usable. We get 3 usages of either HP pots or MP pots. Ability tile graphics have been updated. We already talked about that. Reposition utility action is now available. We already talked about that. One thing we didn't see get mentioned is in the not the user interface, but the mouse over text for each ability. There's a graphic that's been added to the top right of every ability text indicating a spell or physical attribute and the discipline of each skill. So just something interesting to take away. In this example, we've got a cleansing gift from a priest, which is obviously magical, and we got shield up from the knight, which is obviously physical. Another thing was that equipment. There was an equipment button, like how we have our inventory and our pets and that jazz, and the hero buttons on the left side of the overworld map. A equipment button has been added that will most likely be for managing our equipment inventory, which will be separate.
Yeah, I vibe with that take. I think that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it too, and I can't wait for the crafting button to get opened up as well.
But just especially if you think about it, if they add more, resources to the game that you need to gather for crafting, it's really good foresight to separate out inventory for equipment, because I can picture the Discord now. Why do I have to scroll all the way down to get to my fire sword of ice?
No, you're exactly right. I mean, what was the latest change? They put the pages and the trophies down at the bottom of the inventory, so all the stuff you're looking for is at the top.
Right.
I think they're looking ahead, and they're like, this is gonna happen a lot. We're gonna need to put some
looking around corners
differentiation in here. All right,
I just spend my whole day looking around corners. I love you, Dreamer. If you ever hear this, I'm not making fun of you.
Dreamer knows we love him.
Yeah,
especially Grady. Oh my god! All right, so quick comment from Cypherpunk 2023. I was looking around for Grady all day because I knew he didn't know I was going to be there, and I knew he'd be really excited. And I was looking around for him. I started asking. I was like, "Hey, where's Grady at?" And they're like, "I don't think he's here, but you'll know when he is. You'll hear him before you see him." And that is exactly what happened. The second he walked through the door, I heard that booming Grady baby, and I looked right over. He was standing in all his glory with the Wagme guys.
Nice.
Oh,
his entourage of Wagme homies. I love it.
But yeah, that was a fun time. Digressing. Oh, I think you got a message here. Sticks in turn. I have a problem.
No, I see it,
and I can only blame myself. Just saw whale chart on Stars Arena. Had to buy one. That's a wow. How much is that, Dex? Because I might have to hop on there too if they haven't gone parabolic yet.
Yeah, right. I'm jealous, Dags, that you're trading right now when I'm looking at this. No, I'm kidding though, because I'm really. It's crazy, man. I loaded up my Stars Arena the night before Doug did his stream yesterday, and when he said he was just identifying all the people joining the app from DFK, I was like, okay, I'll snag you, and then it's just your portfolio value just balloons because of you're getting your friends super duper cheap right when they join, and then other people just come in, and it's been crazy. So Dags, I hope you caught whale chart early. I have a trade sitting open on a person I don't know, and they're apparently some friend tech whale. I'm hoping that goes really well for me, and I can buy some jewel with it. It is going well so far. I will say that.
Fingers freaking crossed, man. We're all gonna make it, right? We're all gonna go parabolic DFK to the moon. That's what's
So yeah. The ideal outcome here is the whole DFK community exits at the perfect time because we all know they're capable of that. Wink, wink. And brings it all to jewel.
What a burn!
Yeah, I mean, I'm part of that community, so it's a self-burn as well. Don't get me wrong.
All right, sweet. Well, all right, continuing on because I want to make it in time for your stream, which is in approximately 7 minutes.
Yeah. So were you just gonna power through these abilities, or what was your plan?
Um, I'll probably do a separate stream that goes over the ability changes because there's a lot to take in.
Yeah. Okay.
There's
Cool. So yeah,
so
just do
much to
whatever
take
you
in.
had planned then, for now, and then yeah, I'll roll with it. I just wanted to get an idea.
All
Cool.
right, sweet. I'm going to go through over the general knowledge, updates, and takeaways, which is just a couple, and then I'll briefly talk about the boars, and that'll be it. We'll end there.
Cool.
All right. So what we've learned, right, from my split second screenshots of Sasha mousing over debuffs. The taunt debuff has been more fleshed out. It is an official debuff now. And it says that this unit must attack the unit that cast the taunt for the duration and can only perform actions that target the taunter, which means a taunter is someone who is inflicting taunt on whomever. And that I guess they would be taunted as the tauntee.
Right.
And this means
you nailed that.
yeah. Which means changes the target. This is also in addition to this changes the target of a channeling spell to the taunter. So if you are, say, for instance, an archer and you've got a channeled spell that's going right to a priest, if somebody taunts your archer, their target has been changed from the priest to the essentially the knight, right? Whoever taunts.
Right.
Rules of range don't matter for the purpose of targeting the taunter. So you can be taunted by somebody in the back line, and then you'd be able to just attack the back line with whatever you got.
Ah.
Yeah.
We got an update from Hubert.
Oh, snap. Okay, cool. That part has actually been removed. The channel target changing. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm not gonna take it out of here, but I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna cross it out. Official
Yeah,
statement.
I don't know. I'm happy about that, honestly, because I don't know. I liked it as counterplay, but I also saw that it could be oppressive if you like, it could just prevent you from playing channels ever.
Right.
If
I was gonna say, like, there's a lot going against channeled heroes right now, like due to like so many things interrupting as well.
right.
Let's see.
Cool.
Yeah, Dags got it. So yeah, the rules of range don't matter for the purpose of targeting, right? And multi-target attacks are disabled while taunted, which means if you have an AoE that is supposed to hit everyone, or an AoE debuff that is supposed to like debuff the entire enemy team, you can no longer use those while you are taunted because you are essentially disabled out of everything else that wouldn't be an attack towards the taunter. So taunt got a pretty good. I'm not gonna say buff, but a pretty a pretty thorough bolstering of how it's going to be working in the environment. Let's see. Hubert says the play is to taunt in advance. Like if you see an archer preparing for a combo, you taunt them so they have to do it to the tank. I mean that makes sense. You're playing the chess game. You're playing the long game. I don't mind if you channel your first channel move on my priest. Like it's gonna hurt, but whatever. But I'm not gonna let you get that bonus combo on the next channel. You're gonna be taunted for that one.
Yeah.
Let's see, does that mean that if you attack before an archer who is all about to multi-shot, they just hit you instead? Not anymore. So if they're already channeling and they've already targeted someone, they're not going to change target. However, if like they have a channel setup, right? Then I see what you with multi is multi-shot the multi-shot's not the AoE. Yeah, no, multi-shot's the same target.
I think rapid fire, but I get the idea though. But I feel like Starbuck was asking Hubert about this in chat, and there were some points about this where how abilities that impact multiple enemies, but they're targeted on a single enemy actually will work, right? So like that would be like a rapid fire idea where
Right.
I'm targeting one enemy. It's just not it's not like an AoE ability where I it just goes off. I don't have to target it. So I target that against the taunter still and have it still do its AoE effect.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
All
that
right,
was
so
the
that's
one
taunt.
thing we missed
That's
out
front.
in the Thursday video was I couldn't see the chat, so I had no clue what was being asked in there. Yeah, rapid fire is
Okay, so
disabled while
Hubert just
taunted.
dropped here. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so if it would be a AoE move, it cannot be cast. So that just gets grayed out on your bar when you're taunted. It can only be single target, and you can only target your taunter.
That's high value.
Yeah, it really is high
I mean,
value.
yeah, that just adds another dimension to taunt where it's like I don't necessarily need you. I don't need to prevent you from attacking any one person. I just need to prevent you from doing this specific attack that I know is in your kit. That I know will be blocked when you won't be able to use it next turn when you're taunted. I think that gameplay interaction is very interesting.
Word. Yeah, I can't wait for it. And with all of the changes that came to the knight in just the first couple tiers of the abilities, like their tauntability, for lack of a better word, is like insanely better. Like the viability of a knight is much higher for specifically controlling the battle. Um, but taunt wasn't the only thing to get fleshed out. We also got a lot more uh, information on bleed. Yo, TuneFed, what is going on, man? I see that. I see you sneaking in here. I see the hype sneak. Thanks for popping in, buddy.
Type sneak.
Freaking love you, man. So bleed. That's one of the stacking debuffs that we were talking about before. This deals. I'll just go ahead and read it off because I mean this was very blurry, but I managed to scrape off all of the text here. Target suffers X physical damage at the beginning of their turn for 3 turns. That is the standard for bleed right now, is a 3 turn. It refreshes upon application and worsens bleed effects up to a maximum of 5 potency, which is the
Okay.
max stack that bleed can go up to. In this case, it was 13 physical damage. So 13 times 5 is the maximum damage that this particular bleed effect can do from this particular character. You don't need
Yeah.
phone number
No,
verification anymore? Hell yeah! I feel like I turned that off forever ago. That better not be back on.
yeah, seriously. Could come after you, Wowie. No, now I see where you're getting the refreshing from earlier. I'd forgotten this part of the bleed changes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, the biggest part of the entirety of it was if you observed the demo and you saw the bleed ticks happen, the bleed still dealt damage to HP when the hero that was debuffed had a pure barrier on. So the bleed damage actually went through barriers and still did damage to your max HP. So
That
this
is
means that
so
you
good.
can be killed by a bleed if you have a shield on. Just
That is
FYI.
so good. It's also good though from the other end because it means you can put a barrier on someone who has a bleed to interrupt a big attack and not necessarily worry that it's going to get knocked off before then by the bleed.
Right. Yeah, you can stack if someone's running the barrier comp, right, and they're just going stall comp, like you're never going to deal damage to me. If you're running bleeds, you will.
Yeah, baby. Better have cleanses with those barriers.
Oh yeah,
A lot of them.
you gotta. Um, so we also got. I paid attention, and I only did this like because I heard this like 6,000 times because I kept like going back over and over and over again while I was like taking screenshots for all of the abilities I could find.
You're a
But
madman.
the heroes that Hubert is throwing into his personal testing experience is 118 and 122. He didn't mention what the priest was, but I would say if you look up 118 and 122, and you've got a similarly built the priest. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll throw the priest in. Hell yeah.
So if you have these heroes, the game is literally being balanced around your heroes. Keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm. Let
design
that be
this game.
Yeah, what you measure yourself up against. I'm sure it'll be made to be a challenge for these people at this level. It'll be perfect. We already talked about the critical strike update. It's a 1.5 damage mod instead of a 2 times damage mod. And it was verified that some skills and equipment are going to be made to enhance that bonus. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like a 3.5 crit damage build. I'm really excited to see things like that, honestly.
Oh yeah, no, me too. Like full crit comps are very WoW DPS feeling and builds, I should say, for a single hero, not comps. But yeah, very excited to play around with that. I always loved going for a blow up comp.
Oh yeah, blow up comps are the absolute best, especially in games where you can like stack those secondary stats. So like crit chance only goes up to. I mean, we don't know if with the dynamic functionality, but I mean, in terms of like hard numbers, crit chance can only go up to 100. So you can only really conceivably stack so much crit chance. So afterwards, you're dumping in nothing but crit damage and like pure attack mod.
Right. Most of the time in these games, it becomes about maxing out your crit chance, which is just to give it a little bit more definition than just like the theoretical maximum of 100. Typically, in these games, the developers will put in like a soft cap where after a certain value, your diminishing returns becomes so great that it just no longer makes sense for optimizing for that one kind of statistic. And so here, crit strike, the ability to crit more often would be what I'm talking about. You'd want like a soft limit on that, and then at that point, it all becomes about maximizing the damage you get for each of those crits.
Yeah, no, perfect. I mean personally, I'm not a huge fan of like soft and hard caps when it comes to those kinds of things. Like I get that like having that atmosphere because you're trying to like even out your stat builds, but I find that like trying to fit in certain pieces of equipment that get me to crit cap and then like allowing me to branch out into damage makes more sense. It's more fun.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I'm with you.
Yeah, he says I freaking love listening to people who actually understand combat mechanics. Thank you, Dags.
Oh yeah, thank you, Dags.
Yeah,
must be nice.
What's up, Sergeant Filthy McNasty? Glad to have you here, man. It's been a while. I hope Friday show is gonna be something memorable because I need a good Sergeant Filthy McNasty special episode to cure me of my woes. But
yeah, I understand. You need that Sarge in your life.
Yeah, I think we all do. We all need a little bit of Sarge in our lives. So this is the actual real alpha that I was able to get out of there. That was just verified by the official DefiKingdoms Totally Not Bolon Twitter account. The Warrior Combat Testing Grounds usable codex is going to be the next addition to the combat, not to the combat testing grounds, but the next addition to like playable class. Warrior is going to be the next one. Not financial advice, but Warriors just got a lot more valuable, and I'm pretty sure there's a level 10 Warrior that's like 60 under the floor for level 10s right now. Whoever gets there faster can have it. It's definitely not mine, I swear. So
chilling your own underpriced bags, huh?
No, it's not mine, I promise. Let's see. So I'll go ahead and talk about the bowers here real quick, and then like I said, I'll be doing other streams that go over the changes to especially because like I tried to snag as much of the information out of here as humanly possible, but like the patch notes do so much of a better job and it's legible, so we're not going to use
I was gonna say, I did wish it had like some kind of like, is this new? Is this removed? Is this reworked? Like, I wish it had something like that, and then literally they put it in.
I know I'm really liking
So
it a lot.
yeah.
I'll talk about a
So
couple
really
key
quick,
takeaways for sure. What's up?
really quick. I'm gonna let you finish up with the boars. I'm gonna just go take a couple personal minutes before my stream. Anyone who's waiting, I'm gonna start at 7:15 ish, but finish out with WoWE here. It's been fun. Let's do this again sometime.
Hell yeah, man! I hope to see you on here soon. I'll go ahead and put a link into chat for your stream
Yeah,
coming up
whenever you're done.
exactly following For the Nerds episode 1.
Love it.
We'll all see you there in a couple minutes, man. Thanks
Sounds
for
good.
coming
Bye.
on. Later. All right, so we're gonna go over the boars real quick, and I'm sure that the devs thought they were being real sneaky. They were getting one past me, and that I wouldn't see all of the super information on the boars. And I'm sure all of this is super subject to change. And I'm sure they were thinking to themselves, "Wow, he's gonna see some of this stuff, so we're gonna put in an old version. So he's gonna be wrong on most of it." But guess what? I'm just gonna confidently say, "Nuh-uh." So first up, I'm going to go through the big boar abilities. We got Grunt, which is a buff. It gives 20% additional block, 10% additional agility. And I believe it places the boar attack buff on the other two baby boars. I'm actually not 100% sure, but there was a boar attack buff following the Grunt buff. This does come with a 10% chance to taunt your target. As seen in the extremely blurry battle log here. And I did see that he moused over and it says cannot be used for 3 turns, so it has amnesia 3. So, I mean, that's pretty sweet. You can only use it once every 3 turns, and the duration of the taunt's only 2. So, range of 1 as well, by the by. So the attack buff that is granted to the other boars is a 30% attack buff, and it's just for 1 turn. This could be devastating if they have any other kind of setup whatsoever. Just FYI. We have Wild Charge on the big boar, which is a channeled ability, which is indicated by like a new channeled animation. Thank you, blessed be glory to SBD, second best second best dad represent. So it's a channeled ability that deals AoE damage, and it seems to deal substantially more damage to the back row than it does middle or front line. This also increases the resistance to slow by 50%, as indicated here. You can see resistance slow plus 50%. Couldn't tell if that was actually resistance to slow or if that just means he was slowed by 50% and takes a longer time to go through his turns. We've also got Gore, which is, we didn't get exact details on this one, but my assumption is it's a damaging ability with a damage over time effect in the form of a bleed stack. So bad RNG would be getting a bunch of Gores on your knight right away. We've got Rampage, and this is pure speculation because we also didn't get any, they didn't use Rampage at any point in the demo. But this may be a skill that throws out multiple instances of damage randomly at random targets and likely dealing more damage each time it hits the same target. It probably has a pretty good degree of difficulty as well, like a likelihood of missing. Then we got the Dead Boar passive. We didn't see anything with that officially, but I'm assuming it is a scaling enrage mechanic designed to empower the big boar whenever a baby boar is defeated. Kind of letting you weigh your options between, do I want to take out the big boar first, or do I want to whittle down the baby boars because they're easier to get rid of? This will really change the strategy up here. So on the baby boars, we saw Charm, which is a 50% chance to pull P3 and P2 up 1, which is scary as hell, especially because Big Boar hurts. Big Boar hurts a lot, and you do not want anybody to be exposed here. So charm is definitely going to be a problem. My first instinct was, okay, we'll just get rid of the charm effect, but then the Dead Boar passive will likely steamroll you if they've got a wild charge charging up with a grunt. So just be aware of that. You don't want any of these buffs to stack with each other. Just FYI. Then you got Lil Gore, which I would assume is the exact same, but just a slightly less potent version of Gore. So it'll be a bleed effect that stacks up. Most likely it'll share its origin instance, right? So Little Gore on Baby Boar number 1 and Little Gore on Baby Boar number 2 will likely stack the same bleed effect. So they'll be able to stack up to 5 in three turns, I guess 2.5 technically. Just really, really, really quickly. So be on the lookout for that as well. Nuzzle was on the list as well. We didn't get any information on what that does. I have no idea what that does. I would assume that would be like maybe a control mechanic of some kind, maybe a daze, maybe even a stun. But the main damaging ability of the Baby Boars was Headbutt, which is a physical damage skill that has a 60% chance to daze target for 1 turn and has amnesia of 3. So this is everything I was able to get out of the just information wise out of the boars. I've got a ton more information on all of the ability changes that I like I said, I was watching at 0.25 speed trying to snag every single ability that Sasha like moused over real quick. And I feel like I got quite a few of them. I might be a little bit wrong on some of the percentages because, I mean, they're very hard to see. But I'm going to go ahead and share a link to this sheet one more time because everyone deserves to take a look at it. And while you guys are looking at that, I am going to go over to YouTube and grab Sticks Interns link here. There he is. All right. So here's a link to Sticks Interns stream. He's on right now. Tell him I said hey. Tell him I sent you. Tell him I miss him already. And I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you so much, guys, for hanging out with me. I'm going to go live again, and I'm going to go over all of the changes between the Archer, the Priest, and the Knight. There's been a ton of updates. Honestly, it almost changes the way the Knight and the Archer specifically play. But yeah, thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. I'll be going live again here soon, and I'll be uploading this video tomorrow in case anyone missed out and wanted to show anybody else. Don't forget to check out my YouTube as well in case you haven't subscribed to that. And I hope everyone has a good time. Freaking love you guys. Good night.